Hello everyone. Today we are going to learn about another history chapter, very important, the Chola dynasty, the South Indian Chola dynasty. So let's get started. The Cholas are very great kingdom, very great people. So let's learn about them. The southern part of the Indian peninsula. What is peninsula? The three parts, the two sides are in water. So this is the Indian peninsula, where the in this Indian peninsula, the south of the Kaveri river, that is the Kaveri river, is going to be somewhat over here. Somewhat over here is the Kaveri river. In the south of this Kaveri river, this place, what you can see, was inhabited by the Dravidians. All this place was inhabited by these Dravidians. Okay, Dravidians were a culture of people in that time. They had their own language and own culture. There were three powerful kingdoms and dynasties in these Dravidian culture: the Cheras, Pandyas, and the Cholas, from which the Cholas were the most powerful. These South Indian kingdoms never they were so powerful, they had so much of power and army and all those, but they never went to the north. Have you thought about that? Why? Why did not they go to the north? Because they were satisfied in their land and all that. So therefore they never went to the north. So now the Chola Empire, which was there, it arose in the 9th century. It developed a very powerful navy, and so it gave a development to the Indian sea. The You must have learnt about China Silk Route, the route, Silk Route in sea, the route through which the silk was transported. This was built up by the Cholas. The navy was so nice that it enabled development of sea trade. It also helped in conquering of Sri Lanka and also the Maldives Islands. Defeated, they also defeated the Pallavas who were there in Kanchi, and also they weakened the Pandyas. So therefore what happened was they got Tonda Mandalam under their control. What is this Tonda Mandalam? Tonda Mandalam is the Tamil country. So all this Tamil country was now in their control. Let's now, as I have told you always, there are sources in any dynasty. So now let's learn about sources of these Chola dynasty. The first one is the inscriptions. These inscriptions are in the form of copper plate grants, that is on the copper metal which is there. They are put in plates on, and on that everything is carved. Then on the stone, like stone mate is carved on the walls and pillars. It is carved. Also, it is called carved on the temple walls and pillars. So these all grants are copper plate grants, and all these all stone inscriptions are called as Anbil or Karandi. Now, also the Kanyakumari, the stone inscription which is there in Kanyakumari, that tells us about the list of rulers of solar origin in the Cholas. What does this mean? The Kanyakumari meant the stone inscription, what is there on that stone inscription, the rulers of the Chola dynasty are written who are from the solar origin. What does solar origin actually mean? You must have heard in many serials or TV shows or all that, you must have heard that Chandravanshi, Suryavanshi, that solar origin is nothing but Suryavanshi. So you have this Kanyakumari stone inscription which is there. It talks about the rulers. Then 31 copper sheets were also found, and these were written in Tamil and Sanskrit. Now, why was this written on walls and pillars and temples? The Chola kings which were there, they thought that they used to do any very great works, and their great works should be told to all the people. And to show their great works, they used to write it on temples. They used to carve it on temples and pillars and walls. Therefore, this you have now this sources of Chola dynasty. What is the information that these inscriptions tell us about? The Chola administration, how the Chola ruled their country, their administration, it was written on these inscriptions. The Uttaramerur stone inscription which is there, it tells us about the administration and taxation, how the land revenue was done. All that the Uttaramerur tells us. Uttar is the north and Merur is the stone. So it is in the north of the south. It also tells us about the gifts and endowments to the temple, how much gifts and how much money and what things were given to the temples in, what you can say, in charity, what was given, and all those things were recorded. Also, what grants were given to the villagers for their purposes, all that was also recorded in these inscriptions. The very good example of them is the Leiden grant, which is now kept in the Leiden Museum of the Holland. So there this grant is kept. Also the Parakesari Uttam Cholam. Then these constructions, whatever, if constructions of temple was done, it was written on the stone inscriptions that this the temple was constructed by this great king, so much money was done, this was done, how this construction took place, all that was written. And if a new deity was established, the new image of deity was established, that is, if sthapana of a new murti was done, then that was again written, keep at this stage a new murti sthapana was done, like everything was nicely written by the Cholas. Also, it consisted of royal orders, like if king wants to give some orders to the people, like some taxation, that you have to pay a tax, land revenue, resolution of village assemblies, judgments against crimes, and all that. So in that time you did not have the social media, or you get the news in social media now. At that time they used to put it, inscribe it on these temples and stones and plates and pillars and all those, so that the people can see this. Oh, this is what king is asking for, you have to do this now, like that they used to check this and do, just like the messages we check on WhatsApp. Then the public registrations, such as record of sales, mortgages, transfers of property rights in village lands, all that was also written in the inscriptions. Then you have the beautiful Brihadeshwar temple in this sources of Cholas. This is located at Thanjavur in the south. The style of this temple is a Dravidian style. If you see the Dravidian style temples, these are the following characteristics you will see. Now, the builder who built this temple was Chola king Rajaraja I. Now, this Chola king Rajaraja I built this temple. So, the Brihadeshwar temple is also known as Rajarajeshwara temple. This Raja Raja who was there, who was a very great devotee of Shiva. So what he did, he built this beautiful big temple at the name of Shiva. To the dedication was towards Lord Shiva, and he this is actually, he fought to another king and brought that big Shivalingam, which is about 8.87 meters high. I'll show you all the pictures of these parts of this temple. I'll show you in the next slide. Just let's learn the structure of this before we go to that. So the gate which is there of any Chola, if you see any of the Chola temple, you will see the gate is called as the Gopuram. Nice gate is there. I'll show you everything. So nice gate is there. Then you have the audience hall, which is there for the prayers of the. So you have the shrine, which is the main shrine at where the temple is actually the god, the image of the god or the sculpture of the god is actually placed. That is called as the Garbhagriha. Why is it called as Garbhagriha? The Garbha means the worm and the Griha is the house. So how the mother protects the child and keeps it in the worm for 9 months, the same way the temple actually keeps the sculpture of the deity in the worm of it for years and years. So therefore it is called as the Garbhagriha, and in the Garbhagriha is the main shrine when the picture or the image of the deity is kept. Then just in front of the Garbhagriha you have this long assembly hall where the people sit, or they worship the god from there only. So Garbhagriha will be somewhere over here. The next is a tower. Now you see, if you see the Chola temples, they have towers, and these towers are called as the Vimans. This tower is called as the Viman. and the full tower is completely filled with a number of sculptures and carvings and all those nice decorative moldings and all that. This is a in Brihadeshwar temple. It is a 190 feet high tower. Such a beautiful construction. The tower is crowned by this topmost part, which is also called as the kumbam. That is this kumbam which is there. It is made up of a single stone which is of 180 tons. It is of 80 tons and of 25 feet high. How do you think must have they taken it? It's so up at 190 feet. What they actually did was they made a ramp. That means they made a ramp from here to at the top at the temple, and from then all the stone was taken from various thousands of elephants and bullocks took this kumbam to up, and then it was placed over there. You imagine the efforts and the so nicely this temple was made. And the archaeology during that time, you will not believe, so beautiful temple is completely made up of granite. And one more thing is that no type of cementation technique is used in that. Like, what we do is we take we take the stone or the brick, we add cement and stick the stone on the cement. No cementation was done in this. The the blocks which are there, small blocks were made, and they were made in a puzzle like thing, and they were put in each other, and then in that way they were placed in one upon another and forming such a beautiful big temple. Then you have other structures like the Nandi Pavilion, the pillared portico, the assembly hall, and this temple is very important. This is declared as a World Heritage Site by UNESCO. That is a very proudful thing. Here in this slide you can see all the parts of the temple. Here you can see what is the kumbam, the 80 tons. This is a Viman, 190 feet Viman. This temple is so high to cast its shadow. It has the sun has to go to the noon, and that time only you can see the shadow. This is the gate of the temple, which is also called as the Gopuram. Then the assembly hall, the pillared portico, and the main shrine, the Garbhagriha, in which you have this big Shivalingam. You can see this is so big Shivalingam. And there you can see this is a man over here. If this man is of this height, imagine the Shivalinga's height. This is the Nandi Pavilion, which you can see over there. Now we have learnt about the sources of the Chola Empire. We will learn about the political history and the administration of Chola Empire in the next one. Thank you.